Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to ParaTruth.
How's it going, ParaTruthers? Welcome to a brand new episode of ParaTruth Reborn. This is a pre-recorded show on 107.7 FM New Orleans and United Public Radio Network. My name is Justin, and I am running solo today. Eric had a job come up, so I'm just going to get right into it. Tonight, we are talking to Granddaughter Crow. She is a medicine woman, public speaker, teacher, intuitive reader, and author of Wisdom of the Natural World. She is also the author of her new book, Shamanism and Your Shadow, which we are going to be talking to her about. She is descended from a long line of spiritual leaders. She is an empath, medium, and member of the Navajo Nation. She was voted Woman of the Year in 2015 by the National Association of Professional Women. For more, visit granddaughtercrow.com. And without further ado, I'm going to pull her in for the conversation. Welcome to ParaTruth Reborn. How's it going?
Oh, Justin, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to being a paratruther.
Well, I appreciate that you not only wanted to be on the show, but got caught up on some of what we do.
Absolutely. I absolutely love it. And I'm looking forward to however our conversation goes. I'm an open book as I have written them. So,
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first and foremost, we usually ask everybody this. How did you get into this, and what made you write Shamanism and Your Shadow?
Yeah, that's a great question. Getting into this, I would say I was born and raised by spiritual leaders, always been, as a child, I was always, in the paranormal and things like that. And then I left and I ran and I didn't do it. And I closed my third eye, if you can. And I tried. And then I came back about 20 years ago. So what led me to write this book? Well, if you follow me, you kind of know, oh, Granddaughter Crow, she's a shaman. She likes to talk about death in terms of, oh, they're transitioning, just like, butterflies go through transition. So I'm a very light touch to a lot of these topics. And then the pandemic hit and reality struck where people were sheltering in place. People were social distancing. People were not distracted by going to the restaurant, going to wherever you go to, and they had to stay home. And I think that in that time of solitude, individuals actually started hearing their shadow, hearing themselves a little bit more, which led me to go, oh, we need a shadow book. I'm going to stop being little nice Granddaughter Crow, and I'm going to throw down. I'm going to talk about the hard stuff, the dark night of the soul, the shadow, and get people to do this type of work through introducing them to it, not in necessarily a spooky psychology way. You have an evil side. This is called your shadow, quote unquote, but from an organic shamanistic side, which is more natural world. Everything has a shadow. Even your most favorite tree if you have a favorite tree, has a shadow. And so I make it a lot more organic. So yeah, it's a little darker than what I'm used to being, but honestly, my husband just said, "Oh, they need to see this side of Granddaughter Crow. Here we go."
Well, that's awesome that he's super supportive of it for sure. So those that are unfamiliar with shamanism and even more so shadow work, can you explain to us what shamanism is, and then in turn, what shadow work is, and how those two kind of combine?
Absolutely. So, shamanism, and I do lay this out in the book, Shamanism and Your Shadow, definitions of shamanism and going into that, because shamanism tends to be a very blanket term. Just like karate is a blanket term with martial arts, or at least it used to be. And when I was growing up, it's like, oh, I'm in karate. Oh, what kind? Oh, taekwondo or jujitsu. But everybody knows that, it's they're talking martial arts. So shamanism is almost like this catch-all of this idea that the one person in an indigenous tribe, this is where it began, is going to be the intermediary between the unseen world and the seen world on behalf of their, tribe. And sometimes the unseen world is, well, it's the spiritual world, but it really is complemented with a lot of organic natural world. So there's a lot of different shamans globally. There's neo shamans, people reading about shamanism and connecting with it and their spirit on the internet. So that would be neo shamanism, traditional shaman being raised in a traditional culture in order to support people. But other than that, there's a lot of differences. But for me, it really, when I state shamanism, it is a spiritual path that works with the natural world. Most practitioners are individual. It's not like you go to a coven or a church or something like that. You do individual solo practitioners, and you basically work on behalf of the unseen world for the group, the community, the people. And so I am Navajo. I am Indigenous. I'm half Navajo, full, I've got my certificate of Indian blood. And so shamanism really flows through my blood as far as that goes. However, I would say that I am not fully traditional, but I'm a little neo, but I am also like representing the natural world and helping people to see the wisdom of the natural world, which is another book that I have written. So that's shamanism. Shadow work, um, what is it? Carl Jung coined the phrase shadow self. And so when we go into looking at the shadow,
Mm.
I'm not just a woo-woo, I can understand the unseen, unlinear natural world, but I'm also a scientist, And so when I talk about the shadow, I start out and really kind of unpack it as defined by psychology, as well as, especially leaning on Carl Jung, even his conversations a little bit with Freud and the id and the super ego and the ego, and then kind of go into a little Nietzsche. I throw a little Nietzsche in there, where everything needs a little Nietzsche in there, kind of questioning morality and what is morality in terms of, is our shadow our shamed spot because it wasn't in the moral or the morality of the social construct that we grew up in, and now maybe we need to understand that it's okay to be a left-handed artist because that was a sin when I was young. That was the moral code of, the people when I was young, is no left-handed. So it really is kind of this idea of there are things within yourself that may have been shamed due to a quote unquote moral or morality code based on the social group that you were raised in, that have hidden themselves into your shadow side. And now they are really creative aspects of authenticity that may need to come out. So how would I define shadow? Personally, parts of yourself that are hidden, most likely due to external shame.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that you bring up the ego and well, all of the psyche stuff, because I had opened myself up to mediumship. Oh gosh, at probably about the time we started podcasting, 2008, 2009, and even to this day, even though a lot of people tell me that I'm a natural medium, I just kind of had to work at it a little bit at first. I never know, like, what is my ego or my inner thoughts compared to what I'm getting to spirit. Do you struggle with that as well with your work?
I know that what you are saying is 100% correct. And I think that anybody who doesn't have that awareness or consciousness, they're struggling with it outside of their own awareness, because the ego, the id, the super ego. How do I handle it? So what I do is, before I do a podcast, I did it before I did this podcast, before I do a read or a speaking engagement. However, I literally make an agreement with whatever it is that you identify as the divine. And what I say, I'd love to just share with you what I say. I say, welcome, 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 welcome into this space, welcome into this time, defining it, right? I draw a circle around this space and time. This is sacred space. This is sacred time. I declare it, which has a lot of power behind it. And then I say, I set my ego to the outside of this circle so I could be a clear conduit for you and for the divine as it reveals itself to you and within you. May I be a clear conduit. So I recognize, and I've been doing that for 20 years. So I recognize that the ego, my ego is there. I am going to go, oh my God, you look like my best friend from kindergarten. And I'm going to treat you like my best friend from kindergarten, when really you're not my best friend from kindergarten.
Right.
And so we all have those projections. We all have the ego self. Trust me, I love the ego self. I make my ego my amigo, like I befriend it. And to the extent that this is how I see it. My ego makes me take a shower and put on deodorant for you. My ego, it's me to do these things so that I am like presentable, but then it can get out of whack, just like a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old. Look at me, look at me. And it's kind of like, let's go ahead and set that to the outside so that we can actually talk. And I call it an agreement. Some would call it a prayer, but I call it an agreement because I understand the divine, that it reveals itself to each of us in accordance with how we can understand it, right? And that includes scientific. So I'm making an agreement with the energy. And when I continue to do that, and I do that all the time for the last 20 years. And so it's almost like when I do that, what it does to me individually is it aligns me and goes, oh, let's get into that like meditative state. Let's get into that trance state. Let's get into, this is the clue that I'm not going to be thinking about what's for dinner or anything. This is the clue, or that you're my best friend from kindergarten. This is my signal. It's almost like a hypnotic symbol or signal to me to go, here I am in this state. So it's an agreement that I have been doing with the universe, and I do it with myself. And so I know, hey, look, this isn't about me. And so a lot of times, most of the time, I don't remember what happens. And I may hear about it later and I'm like, oh man, that's so cool, But really it's just me understanding that I have an ego and projection, and me handling that prior to it being messy.
Hmm.
But great question, Justin. Yeah.
Well, and thank you for sharing how you do it, because I felt the power just from you saying it. So it's something I just need to practice more. And I read through quite a bit of the book. I want to work through it all and start working with my shadow, because it's something I have not worked on yet, is shadow work. So the one thing I wanted to ask you is, many people fear their shadow. Why is shadow work essential for healing and transformation?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things. I believe okay, so earlier I mentioned that the shadow is a hidden aspect of yourself
Mm-hmm.
due to shame.
Right.
And I alluded to that the shame is coming from an external morality code from the social people that
Mm.
you grew up with or around. And so I think it's really scary to work with a shadow, because your inner child was taught, oh, that's bad. I can't believe that you're writing with your left hand, or I can't believe that you're seeing ghosts. I can't believe that you said that you saw Uncle Earl. That's not what we do. And so the person gets shamed, and a lot of their gifts get hidden. And so it's very difficult. That's one of the stigmas around the shadow, is you have to the first doorway that you got to walk through it with courage,
Hmm.
because you've been so shamed. And I think that shame is external, and it's kind of like, and then blame is internal. Blame is internal shame. Doesn't matter. I'm so full of wonderful little things. Oh, at the end of the day, we start blaming ourselves. Oh, well, I'm not psychic. Oh, well, I didn't see that Uncle Earl. I didn't do that. And so the first door that you walk through, you have to walk through it with a lot of courage, because you were told all your life that you're going to meet a monster. Why is it so important? What? Okay. What? Okay. There are forces that would love to control um the masses. And I'm not just like spiritual demonic forces. We can go there, Justin. But what I'm saying is like societal, governmental, religious, sext, these things that need to control masses. And if the masses stop behaving like sheep and start becoming authentic and thinking for themselves, if these masses start revolting because you told them that your power, because they told you that your power was shameful, and then you start discovering it, that's why I think everybody should do it. I mean, not everything that you run into is going to be beautiful, but it is going to be authentic. It is going to be you. And the more shadow work you do, the less the deprogramming of said entities, demonic or governmental or religious or whatever, happens, because now you're able to think for yourself. Now you're able to go, oh, wait, I'm not the bad guy. I know myself. I can stand up for myself. And you don't automatically go into shame. I'm a sinner. I need to be saved by an external force. Now you go into, okay, I am human. I know who I am. Some of that is really painful. I've got a lot of gifts. This doesn't make sense, but I am me. And you can't control people who know that they are themselves, the me. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I'm glad you bring that up because I wouldn't. I'd be remiss not to mention that, Eric comes from a very Christian background. He was saved again. And, when we first started podcasting, he went a very right-wing route when he first came to faith, and now he has become a completely different person in his faith and in his understanding of things. He's done shadow work. He has done a lot of things that most traditional Christians call him out on, saying that you're not a Christian for doing this. So I'm super thankful that he's in that path, because a lot of people would look at shadow work as a demonic practice, or you're talking to demons because you're working through your shadow to work through trauma. So I super appreciate that you brought that up. So thank you so much for that. Something that a lot of people might not know about this type of work is how to recognize when their shadow is influencing them, their life choices, and how to go about working on that. So, how do people identify when their shadow is influencing their life?
I I absolutely love that question. And also thank you for, the compliment around talking about that, because I love, Christians. I love people. I love spiritual paths. But when the spiritual path tells you that you're not allowed to question,
Mm-hmm.
that is when I go, wait a second. Okay, so when do you know it's your shadow? Until you do shadow work, you don't, because it's hidden. It's by nature, by the actual word shadow, you don't know what you're doing. Um, However, when you do work with your shadow, you're like, oh, I see what I'm doing. And it's very therapeutic. So let me give you an example around that. Um, and I'm just going to lay it out.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 17 years old, I was going to the grocery store, picking up some food for myself, carrying them home, and I was walking home. The grocery store was probably half a mile away. And it was starting to get dark. And so I, did a shortcut through the alley. Don't remember much except for a male voice coming up behind me, and something sharp in my lower back. And he said, "You will do what I tell you and you will not say a word." And I smelt like strong alcohol. Now I'm fine, people drink alcohol, that's fine with me. But this was like very, like, I don't know. And that's one of my memories of it. And I remember he was just not that much taller than me. So probably 5'8". And he reeked, and I remembered how big he was. And at that moment, my mind just kind of zipped, kind of doubt, And I I have just a fun fact. I have a whistle, like I can whistle, not, just whistling like, but I have a whistle like you would do at a hockey game that pierces ears. It is so alarming that people would cover their ears. And I knew this about myself, and that was the first thing that popped into my head. It said whistle. And I let out this screech that would have called bats. Like I whistled so loud. And all I remember is him losing his grip on me. I remember turning a little bit, seeing him on the ground holding his ears because I'm sure it shocked him, and running home. And that was what I believe to be the birth of one of my shadows. It was trauma. And there is an aspect, and was for 40 years, an aspect of me that if I had any sensation that a man came up to me from the same angle with the smell of alcohol, I would be the worst, the meanest person. You can fill in the witch blank. And I was horrid. And I would wake up the next day and I'd be like, wow, that was out of sorts. Maybe he wasn't really doing anything. Wow, what was that? And I finally, through shadow work, I realized that there's an aspect of me that I believe was born, or I perceive as born in that moment. Maybe the further down the road, I'll understand it differently. But in that moment, that was my protector. She saved my life. And she continues to do so if she thinks that I'm in harm. However, what happened was I wasn't in that kind of harm for the next 40 years or so. We're just kind of, rolling over it. And so what happens is, oh, now Granddaughter Crow has a shadow who is a mean person. And all you have to do is be a male and walk up to her left side with alcohol in your breath, and she flips out. So when I realized finally that that was my shadow, I started talking to her and I told her, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saving my life. But I'm safe now. I'm with a wonderful husband and I don't need to do that anymore. That it was a very primal reactionary thing. And so that's why I want to also encourage people to do shadow work, because you don't know. I mean, yeah, I was like, oh gosh, I'm so mean when this happens. But I didn't understand myself. I didn't understand that what I was trying to do is protect myself. And once I understood that, it came to the forefrontal cortex of my mind. And I was like, not the amygdala, like, oh, fight, flight, freeze. And I was like, oh my goodness, these situations make my body feel afraid. So I'm going to be aware of that in the future. And now it's fine. Like, I talk to my shadow and she's just like, I got you. Just call me.
I'm glad that we were able to do this show because the more we talk, the more I'm starting to understand things that have been happening recently for me. When me and my wife have a great relationship, but over the past few years we've had some road bumps here and there, and something that happens to me if she says a certain thing or acts a certain way, I react in a very negative way. And I'm trying to work through to not do that. So I feel doing some shadow work would be beneficial to me, but vice versa as well. She reacts to how I'm reacting to her, or she'll react about something I'm not doing, or doing something in a way that she's not okay with. So I feel we would both benefit from this, just from you telling me how shadow work can help.
Oh, big time. And Justin, the beauty is that I think that a lot of people have that. And as you go through your shadow work, I think that I know my shadow, she's trying to protect me. She's trying to keep me out of danger. And so she has very basic, and I'm not saying, I'm sorry, Shadow. She's like, I'm not basic, but she's very, she's in touch with my amygdala, my fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. She's in touch with that. And my frontal cortex is going to override, like, I'm not in the back streets. I'm not with this guy that's going to rape or kill me, but my body still feels like that. So it's almost like an intermediary. And when you walk through the book, Shamanism and Your Shadow, I offer some very wonderful, wonderful tour guides that, and one of which that will come to you to help you understand where that came from. Why is this person reacting? Why am I reacting that much? Because when you wake up in the morning, you're just like, yeah, that was an overreaction. Oh gosh, yeah, but I can't believe how much energy came. And it's like, yeah, your amygdala was triggered. And so when you walk with the shamanism and the shadow, an owl comes to help you meditatively understand why you are reacting the way that you are, and tries to bring insight so that you give respect, honor, and gratitude for your shadow, because your shadow saw something that may be out of space and time and maybe needs to get healed, but it was there. And so I always think, shadow, we're not talking about, oh, I'm going to kill this person, it really is that very basic basis of the human existence. And so it would be really interesting, after both you and your wife read this book, talk to the owl and the owl portion, and start to begin to understand that what your wife said wasn't what you understood, but why you understood it that way has validity.
Okay. So the shadow sounds very much like a protector. It's trying to protect you. It just doesn't know when to let go of that protection, basically.
Yeah. I agree. I believe that 100%. And I've been doing shadow work for a very long time. And then I never write a book that I'm not willing to do. And I wrote this book. So I've done some really deep shadow work. And let me just tell you, it's so empowering, because could you imagine the things that you have been ashamed of and in yourself actually have explanation,
Mm.
and that it's not broken? You're not broken. You're maybe writing on an old app where it's perceiving things differently, but that's how I perceive the shadow in all of the work that I've done. Every time I talk to my shadow, and she tells me the truth, she is very, very, I mean, I'm in love with my shadow. Like, she's my best friend now. And she is like dark and spooky and all of that, but she's not like spooky because she wants to scare me or is some sort of a bad thing. She actually is just like, oh, don't do that. Remember when you get into situations like that. She's wise counsel.
Okay. Huh. Now, can you speak on the importance of nature or your ancestors or your spirit guides in this process of working through shadow work?
Absolutely, 100%. The reason why I take this position as shamanism and your shadow is because of the, shall I say, I don't know if it's propaganda or messaging or programming of never talk to your shadow, because It has so many gifts and so much wisdom. So basically, I wanted to take away the stigma, the even religious stigma of the shadow is your devil side. The shadow is the devil that's sitting on one of your shoulders,
Right. Yeah.
and you can't hear it. And take all of that programming, app, stigma, propaganda, whatever you want to call it, away and bring it into this more organic understanding through these lenses of, wait, why am I afraid of my shadow? Everybody has one. Okay, wait. If I walk out into my backyard, my beautiful garden has a shadow. My beautiful tree has a shadow. My beautiful cat has a shadow. Wait, but they're not reacting the same way that my app, my program, my propaganda has been activated. They just see the shadow as a part of anything that comes into the light has a shadow.
Hmm.
It is a part of it. Anything that the sun touches in the natural world has a shadow. It is organic. And when you kind of like go, well, fine, Granddaughter Crow, I'll take a night or two and put on those lenses and look through them and see what you're talking about. I am like, please do so, because you're not going to see what I'm talking about. You're going to see what you know, what you understand, all of your natural world understanding. So basically, bringing it into the natural world from a shamanistic point of view, the idea of everything has a shadow takes a part of that stigma already away, and could be done in couples or a book club or friend groups. And I literally will, if any of your listeners go, I've got a book club, we're going to do the shadow work, you email me www.granddaughtercrow.com. I know we're going to go there, and drop me an email. It's on my website, and just go, I'm in a book club. We've been reading your book. Could you do an hour Zoom with us free of charge, talking about what we found and how you're doing, what you meant? And we could ask you whatever questions. I'm there. I will do that 100%, because what I've already found is people feel so much more comfortable with themselves. And it's not scary if you go through the natural world.
Hmm. Now, what is one simple practice you can tell listeners to try today to begin exploring their shadow?
Mm. Okay, so the first thing I'll say is, if you're listening and you got to this question, my belief tells me you're not just curious, but your shadow is actually calling you. It's calling you because it misses you and it wants to explain itself. It wants to connect with you. It's an aspect of you. And what could they do? I would say something very, light a candle and breathe. Inhale slowly, hold your breath, exhale through your mouth. Inhale through your nose, hold your breath, exhale 3 times. Inhale, hold, exhale. And remember that the light that you're looking at is casting a shadow. And shadow doesn't mean bad. Shadow doesn't mean evil. Shadow means hidden.
Hmm. So, looking through the book and kind of understanding how spiritualism and spirituality really works. Um, a lot of people may not even realize this, but can ancestral trauma affect you and your shadow, and how do you work through that?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Um, so I talk to my shadow, I talk to my ancestors because I have I have an idea, a philosophy of my own, a thought that basically says that shadow work, and it's actually a lot of people are looking into this, and I believe there's a lot of studies, but I found myself in this mind frame of, can shadow work be ancestral?
Hmm.
And so then I kinda look at it, and then I looked at it like, what caused my shadow to be? And my first answer is trauma. Did the Navajo Nation go through trauma? Did my ancestors go through trauma? Why, yes, they did. It was called the Long Walk of the Navajo. It's just like the same time of the Trail of Tears with the Lakota. It was the US government trying to wipe out a nation.
Mhm.
And so, do I still hold that in my DNA? 100%. And it's kind of beautiful because from that lens, yeah, I guess you could go, "Oh my god, there's so much work to do." But from another I know, right? But from another lens, it's like, "But wait a second. Maybe some of what I'm reacting to was ancestral.
Mm.
Maybe I still have the DNA that wants to run. I still have the DNA that doesn't trust this person or that person. I still have that DNA within me, but because I was raised in the United States and I don't remember those and I haven't done the history, I don't know why I am reacting the way that I am." So, yeah, it's ancestral trauma. I go into that a little bit in the book, ancestral trauma, and I definitely, the beauty around it for me is it's once again another indicator that we are all connected, that I am a part of something that is greater than myself, and that if I am the answered prayer to my Navajo ancestors, then why wouldn't I write a book about how other ancestral groups can heal because they made it too?
Mm. That's a super powerful point because I know that there's still horrible travesties happening to Native American people, and it's not okay. I'm one of the people that know history over connecting with my ancestral trauma, but uh, I totally get how as a people the Native American culture can still be holding on to that because of their shadows, holding on to that ancestral trauma. And not that it's not deserved against the American government. It totally is. But it's one of those things that you have to break it to work through it all.
Absolutely. 100%. And the whole thing is the answers are within you,
Hmm.
but you were told to be afraid of it.
Oh, right. Right.
So don't be afraid. Pick up the book. I like, seriously, Shamanism in Your Shadow. If you're a Christian, it's not going to deter you. Like, throw out what doesn't work for you. It's not like a religious text. If you are a Buddhist, if you are pagan, if you whatever, it this complements it. And it literally is like, I am shaman and I am here to help you to discover yourself, the aspects of yourself that you threw away or you hid because the moral compass of the group that you were raised in said this. And I'm not saying that they were right nor wrong. I'm not a judge. I am like, but wouldn't it be so much more scientific, intellectual, and better benefit to you if you understood why your behavior is the way that it is when something minute happens, when you have a reaction because they use this word instead of that word, and understand where you are. So in short, Justin, like, one of the things I've done a lot of self work, shadow work, but I know my purpose here on earth, and my purpose is to inspire, encourage, and empower you to be your authenticity, not to follow me, but to be yourself. Because I believe in a divine that created you to be that special authenticity, that special snowflake, right? And nobody can be you. And if you can understand more of why you are you, even your sharp edges, even the shadow that you cast on the world, doesn't that make you more brilliant?
Everything you're saying, super powerful stuff. So I'm so thankful that you were able to come on with me. Something that psychology, anything that you're doing, um, it all evolves. So how does shadow work evolve, and is it ever truly done? Are we ever done shadow working?
I love that question. Are we ever done being in the light?
Very good point. I mean, you're always walking both lines. So absolutely, I get it 100%.
I know that was a short chapter for dramatic pause. I get you, Justin. But basically, I have not stopped doing shadow work, but it definitely is a joy for me to do. The first time I did it, I was like, and the second time I did it, I was like, "Ooh, I'm cool, I understand myself." And then the third time I did it, I was like, "Oh gosh, now I understand you too." And then the fourth time I did it, I was like, "Whoa, I understand human nature." The fifth time I did it, I'm like, "This is what we do." I understand intellect, and intellect is light and shadow. Intellect has to do with what is known and what is not known. Digging into unknown brings more intellect. So I'm a very intellectual person. I am a very much a person who is like, let's put some light on that. And when you put some light on that, you get another shadow. So what I would say is that over the course of time, it is so much more like, I'm not afraid to do shadow work at this point. I'm actually embracing it. And I feel like my shadow is the aspect of myself that I protect because she knows me and knows when I am like in harm's way and has protected me many times. And sometimes, what she has to say is out of date and time, is not in this space, is not in this time. And she is automatically taking things out on, like, almost as though she's got this play going. And once she gets her cue, this is the role that she's going to play. And she's going to do this and she's going to do that. And she's going to devaluate you. But when I get to know her and go, why are you doing that? She's like, because I thought this. And then she grows and I grow. Like, she's no longer in the shadow. She's just like, I protected you. And I'm like, thank you. And you don't have to have those reactions towards my husband.
Hmm.
because that's over and I appreciate you. It's just like if you're a baby and nobody's hearing you, you keep crying. But when somebody comes in and says, it's okay, you just got to burp and you come back into this space and time. So it's kind of like your shadow will keep crying and barking at you until you give it its due respect. That's what I see. That's my position. And I know that there's a lot of truths on ParaTruths, and I'm a ParaTruther. But yeah, that's one of my truths. It's like I get to help my shadow side because it's almost like she's lost outside of space and time, meaning that she is not appropriate within certain situations at certain times, but she doesn't care and she'll come out. So when I get to talk to her, get to know her, and I get to take care of her and heal her and thank her and respect her, she's not going to come out at those times. She may poke her head in, and I will be like, oh my goodness, this is one of those times that I would have reacted, but I actually understand why I reacted the way that I did and know that you're not trying to cause distance between us. You're just trying to understand. Something like that, you know?
Okay. Now, can somebody use creativity to work through shadow work? Because I'm a writer. My wife's an artist. She's a potter. And then Eric, who wasn't able to join us, is also a writer, and he does a lot of cinematography work. So can you use that as a way for shadow work?
I would say that I could write a whole book on using creativity is the most effective towards shadow work. The reason why I say that is because I go back to the model of the brain, and you've got the left hemisphere. Oh, sorry, the left hemisphere, which is logic, linear thinking. It understands English. We're speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
The right hemisphere, creative. It understands dreams. It doesn't understand language. It doesn't understand space and time. It understands its own version of space and time because it understands dream is not linear, it's non-linear. And I think that the shadow, a lot of it exists in that right hemisphere or can be brought out in a place of comfort. So when I experience my shadow being angry outside of space and time, my left hemisphere, my linear English speaking logical mind is like, I suck because I did it again. Did I eat right? Did I like not take my vitamins? Was I in the right headspace? I just snapped again. But my right hemisphere, my creative side would go, oh, well, that's, wabi sabi. Wabi sabi is basically an Asian term of the beauty of a crack in a pottery. So I kind of threw that in for your wife. Wabi sabi. Just put the gold in there and it's more beautiful. So I think that for a creative person, shadow work is a lot easier. I really do. And I think that the more creative that you get with like even just drawing cartoons around what happened to Granddaughter Crow in the alley when she was 17 and what that looked like, then my mind would be able to go, oh, now I get it. Like, so I think that creativity actually is like, I don't know, the backstage pass to shadow work.
Okay.
Coin that. I just said it. Coin that.
Right. We'll trademark it after the show airs. So I got two more questions for you.
Got it.
First one is what dreams or symbols tend to surface when people are starting to begin deep shadow work?
Ooh. Well, gosh, I would expect that it will. Ooh, gosh, I haven't thought about this. So I'll give you an answer and then I'll think about it some more and then give you another answer in the ethers.
All right.
You might dream about, I wish I understood myself more. You may dream about being in a place that is unfamiliar. You may dream about, it's got to be this connection. It's got to be a symbol or a dream of, I lost a friend. I want to get to know my friend. My old friend is gone. I want to know myself. I am having an ego death. I am struggling with who I am. There's a lot of I am questions because an aspect of I am, you are, you is coming back to you. And so, however, your psyche translates, I miss my friend, it will be there. I think that if the shadow is like drilled into you from maybe a dogma, you may have very spooky dreams of the devil trying to get you or something trying to take you, when really what's going on is information is trying to get there. And it's kind of like you might get scared of something. So if you approach it from a scientific way, like, why is this thing so afraid and why is it chasing me? And stop thinking like a little kid that it wants to destroy me, and go turn around and look at your monsters and go, what? So I don't know. That's how I'll respond right now.
Right. Well, yeah, if you think of something and you email it to me, I'll make sure I put it out on the socials for a better answer.
I love it, Justin. I love it.
All right, last question, and it's same thing we ask everybody. Where can everybody find you, the book? The mic's all yours.
Oh, thank you so much. If you dug this and you want to know more about who I am and what I do, or if you have questions for me, all you got to do is Granddaughter Crow. Think Granddaughter Crow and www.granddaughtercrow.com, YouTube Granddaughter Crow, social Granddaughter Crow. It's such an odd name that I'll be the one. And I really love to engage with people. So, like I said at the beginning of, or not, probably in the middle of the show, if you do have a book club and you are paratruther, you can just email me, DRJOY, Dr. Joy. Oh my God, I forgot. I have a doctorate. Forgot about that. I actually a doctorate in leadership and all that. But DRJOY at granddaughtercrow.com, and just let me know, hey, me and my partner have been going through your book. We've read it. We have some questions. 1 hour free Zoom. All you have to say is, I'm a paratruther, or a book club.
Well, I'll make sure to put that in our show notes as well, so people can know to give us a shout out.
I love it.
Thank you so much for being on. I've learned so much, and I'm planning on working through this book because I feel it's something that both me and my wife need to do, and do together and separately. So I appreciate you being on, and as soon as we have a link for you, we'll get it out, but I will let you go.
Thank you so much, Justin, and thank you to everybody who's listening. Love ya.
All right, you have a good night.
You too.
Bye. All right, folks, that was Granddaughter Crow, author of Shamanism and Your Shadow. Check it out. It's an amazing book, and I'm looking forward to working through it. Next week, Eric will be back, and we'll be discussing Friday the 13th and all other types of different things that people are afraid of that maybe aren't necessarily things that should be. But until next week, make sure you like, share, subscribe wherever you listen. This again has been a pre-recorded show on 107.7 FM New Orleans and United Public Radio Network. Until next week, where you'll find us same time, same channel. My name is Justin. Talk to you next time.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.